We've been told for decades that protein is the holy grail of muscle building. And while it's absolutely important, especially as we age, it turns out that there's something else, something far more overlooked, that might be even more critical for rebuilding and preserving muscle after 60. It's not a fancy supplement. It's not a new workout program. It's a mineral, one your body quietly depends on every day, and one that up to 70% of older adults are deficient in. So, when your diet has fallen out, you can make it once in a time or all time today. When your body quietly depends on every day, and one that up to 70% of older adults are deficient in without realizing it. That mineral is magnesium. Now I know, magnesium doesn't sound flashy. It's not being advertised in muscle building ads or flashy supplements. But what if I told you that without enough magnesium, your body literally can't activate the muscle building signals triggered by protein? What if your body can't repair the tiny tears from resistance training or even produce enough ATP, your cellular energy currency, to fuel a single contraction of your quad? Here's what the research shows. In a study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, older adults with higher magnesium intake had significantly more muscle mass, better grip strength, and improved physical performance. And they didn't take creatine, they didn't double their protein, they simply got enough magnesium. The reason? Magnesium plays a central role in muscle protein synthesis, insulin signaling, inflammation control, mitochondrial energy production, and neuromuscular coordination. That's 5 pillars of muscular health, all hinging on this one mineral. And yet, most of us are ignoring it. So in today's video, we're diving deep into why magnesium is the missing key to muscle preservation and strength restoration after 60. You'll learn why even normal blood levels can be misleading, how magnesium supercharges your mitochondria and your workouts, why this mineral affects your sleep, recovery, and even motivation, the surprising food-drug interactions depleting your stores, the best ways to replenish magnesium for muscle health, and how to tell if your body is quietly running low. Let's cut through the noise, debunk the myths, and arm you with real tools to feel stronger, more energized, and more in control of your aging process starting today. If you've ever increased your protein intake and still felt like you weren't getting stronger, you're not alone. And the reason may surprise you. See, protein is the raw material for muscle, but magnesium is the builder. Inside your muscle cells, there's a complex process called muscle protein synthesis, MPS. It's how your body takes the amino acids from your food and turns them into functional muscle tissue. But here's the critical part. This process is enzymatically dependent on magnesium. In simple terms, the enzymes that drive muscle building don't work without enough magnesium present. Imagine trying to build a house with all the bricks but no workers. That's what happens when you eat protein but your magnesium is low. One study published in Magnesium Research found that magnesium deficiency reduced the efficiency of muscle protein synthesis by more than 25%, even when protein intake was adequate. That's a massive difference. What's happening in your body is this. Magnesium acts as a cofactor for over 300 enzymatic reactions, including the activation of mTOR, a master regulator of muscle growth. If mTOR isn't activated, your muscles aren't triggered to grow or repair, even after strength training. And here's where age matters. After 60, your anabolic resistance increases, meaning your body becomes less responsive to the usual muscle building signals. So the margin for error shrinks. If your magnesium is low, it's not just slowing growth, it could be blocking it entirely. So let me ask you this. Have you ever started a resistance training program, increased your protein, but felt no noticeable strength gains? It may not be your workouts. It may be that your muscle machinery isn't being properly activated. A simple tool to apply is this. Before increasing your protein powder dose, check your daily magnesium intake. The RDA for adults over 50 is around 420 milligrams for men and 320 milligrams for women. But studies suggest optimal muscle function may require more, especially if you're active. Good sources include pumpkin seeds, 168 milligrams per ounce, spinach, 157 milligrams per cup, cooked, almonds, avocado, and dark chocolate are also excellent. So here's your challenge. For the next 3 days, track your magnesium intake, not just your protein. You may discover the real missing link in your muscle building strategy. Most people think muscle strength comes from lifting more weight or eating more protein. But the real story begins deep inside your cells, at the level of ATP, or adenosine triphosphate. ATP is the molecule that powers every contraction of every muscle fiber in your body. Without ATP, your legs wouldn't move, your heart wouldn't beat, and your lungs wouldn't expand. In essence, ATP is your internal battery. But here's what most don't realize. ATP can't function without magnesium. In fact, ATP is only biologically active when it's bound to magnesium. Scientists refer to it as MgATP. That's right, magnesium is the spark plug that turns ATP from a dormant molecule into a functional energy source your muscles can actually use. In short, so what happens if you're low in magnesium? You might still make ATP, but your muscles can't access it efficiently. That translates into fatigue, weakness, and slower recovery, especially noticeable after age 60, when mitochondrial function naturally declines. In a 2021 study published in Nutrients, older adults with higher magnesium levels had greater grip strength and leg power, and even faster gait speed. This wasn't due to more exercise, it was due to better cellular energy availability. Let's bring this home with a relatable example. Have you noticed how climbing stairs or standing up from a chair takes more effort than it used to? That could be due to declining ATP production, but also due to magnesium-dependent ATP activation not happening efficiently. So this means that here's a tool you can use. To support ATP production and activation, timing your magnesium intake around physical activity can make a difference. Taking magnesium 1-2 hours before resistance training or walking can help optimize intracellular uptake and support better muscular energy output. Also, avoid combining magnesium supplements with high doses of calcium at the same time. They compete for absorption. If this insight is helping you reframe your approach to strength and energy after 60, consider subscribing. We break down powerful science-backed tools like this every week, grounded in physiology, not hype. Because strength after 60 isn't just about effort. It's about knowing how your body works and giving it what it truly needs. Let's shift gears and talk about something deeper, not just what builds muscle, but what breaks it down. Because if you're over 60, muscle loss isn't just a slow fade. It's an active biological process. And one of its key drivers, chronic inflammation. Now here's where magnesium plays a surprising and critical role. It's one of the body's natural anti-inflammatory minerals. Research from the journal Current Opinion in Clinical Nutrition and Metabolic Care shows that low magnesium intake is directly associated with elevated levels of CRP, that's C-reactive protein, a well-established marker of systemic inflammation. And higher CRP levels are linked to faster muscle wasting in older adults. So what's the connection? When magnesium levels fall, the body's stress response ramps up, cortisol rises. Immune cells begin releasing inflammatory cytokines like TNF-alpha and IL-6, which don't just make you feel fatigued, they actively signal your body to break down muscle for energy. It's the body's version of short-term survival mode. The problem? When this state becomes chronic, which it often does with aging, it creates a catabolic environment. That means more breakdown than buildup. Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like no matter how clean you eat or how often you move, your body feels inflamed, stiff, or just not recovering the way it should? That could be silent magnesium inflammation stealing your strength day by day. And here's the kicker. Many people with low magnesium never show overt deficiency symptoms. Their blood levels appear normal because only about 1% of magnesium is stored in the blood. The rest is inside cells and bones, where it's much harder to detect. So here's a protocol to help lower inflammation and protect your muscle. Increase magnesium-rich whole foods daily. Focus on leafy greens, pumpkin seeds, legumes, and cacao. These provide not just magnesium, but also antioxidants that further reduce inflammation. Use magnesium glycinate or malate in supplement form. Start low, approximately 100 to 200 mgs per day. These forms are gentle, well-absorbed, and support both muscle repair and calm nervous system function. Reduce hidden magnesium drainers, excess sugar, alcohol, processed foods, and even emotional stress. Increase urinary magnesium loss, quietly pushing your body into deficiency. When you protect magnesium, you're not just preserving energy, you're actively reducing the silent fire that breaks muscle down from the inside out. And here's the empowering takeaway. Your body wants to rebuild. It's capable of restoring lean mass even in your 70s or 80s. But it needs the internal environment to allow that. Magnesium helps you create it. Let's talk about one of the most underrated muscle building tools available to you. Deep restorative sleep. Not just more hours, but better quality. Why? Because while you're sleeping, your body shifts from a catabolic breakdown state into an anabolic rebuilding mode. This is when your growth hormone spikes, when tissues repair, and when muscle protein synthesis quietly does its best work. And what's one of the key minerals regulating this shift? You guessed it, magnesium. Magnesium plays a central role in calming the nervous system. It helps activate the parasympathetic branch of your autonomic nervous system, sometimes called rest and digest. This helps lower cortisol, quiet brain activity, and prepare the body for deep, slow-wave sleep, the very phase where growth hormone release peaks. In fact, a randomized double-blind study published in the Journal of Research in Medical Sciences showed that older adults supplementing with magnesium experienced longer sleep duration, better sleep efficiency, and higher levels of morning alertness. But the impact goes even deeper. Magnesium helps regulate GABA, a neurotransmitter responsible for reducing brain excitation. Without enough GABA, you stay tense, restless, and wide awake, even if you're exhausted. Here's what that means for muscle. If your sleep is poor, your growth hormone secretion is blunted. And if growth hormone is low, your muscles can't fully repair, even if your diet and workouts are dialed in. Let me ask you, have you ever noticed how your body feels weaker after a few nights of bad sleep, even if your routine hasn't changed? That's the hidden hormonal toll of disrupted recovery. And magnesium can be a game changer. If you have tension in your body, it's because your mitochondria are dialed in. Here's what the main reason most people are stressed out: our musculature. Here's what the main reason most people are stressed out: our musculature. Even if your routine hasn't changed, this is a good opportunity to reconnect, to be present, to be with your thoughts. If you set the stage, this is a good time to take advantage of the moment. Here's a practical protocol. Evening magnesium. Take 200 to 300 milligrams of magnesium glycinate or threonate about 60 to 90 minutes before bed. These forms cross the blood-brain barrier and calm the mind without sedation. Magnesium foot soak or bath. A warm Epsom salt soak contains magnesium sulfate, can promote parasympathetic activation through skin absorption and temperature regulation. Low light, low stress environment. Magnesium works best when paired with lower sensory input in the evening. Dim lighting, No screens and quiet surroundings allow it to do its sleep-inducing work. If this approach is resonating with you and giving you a fresh lens on how to recover better, not just work harder, consider liking and subscribing. We share science-based tools like this to help you not only age well, but live well. Because sometimes the most powerful strength builder isn't what you do during the day, it's how you recover at night. You may be doing everything right, eating better, moving more, getting rest, and yet the needle on your muscle strength or energy isn't budging. If that sounds familiar, it might be time to look at what's quietly draining your magnesium, not just what you're consuming, but also what you're unknowingly depleting. Let's start with a surprising truth. Many common medications and everyday dietary habits can lower your body's magnesium stores without showing any warning signs. For example, consider these. Proton pump inhibitors like omeprazole or pantoprazole, often prescribed for acid reflux. These reduce stomach acid, which in turn reduces magnesium absorption in the gut. The FDA has even issued warnings about long-term PPI use, leading to severe magnesium deficiency. Diuretics, often used for high blood pressure or heart failure, increase urinary output, and along with it, magnesium loss through the kidneys. Metformin, the popular type 2 diabetes medication, can impair intestinal absorption of magnesium, especially with long-term use. And that's just the pharmaceuticals. Certain dietary patterns also chip away at your reserves daily. High sugar diets increase magnesium excretion via the kidneys. Excess caffeine or alcohol can act as diuretics, pushing magnesium out of your system. Even oxalates and phytates found in some healthy foods, like spinach, beets, or whole grains, can bind magnesium and reduce its bioavailability. Let me ask you this. Do you rely on coffee to start your day, take heartburn meds at lunch, and finish the evening with a glass of wine? On their own, they may seem harmless, but together they create a cumulative drain that erodes your magnesium status and, by extension, your muscle building potential. Here's a tool to regain control. Run a magnesium drain audit. For the next 48 hours, list all medications, drinks, and dietary habits that could be depleting magnesium. Then compare it with your magnesium intake from food or supplements. You'll often see a deficit, one that can explain fatigue, poor recovery, or stubborn muscle loss. If you're on meds that interfere with magnesium, especially PPIs or diuretics, talk to your healthcare provider about monitoring your magnesium status. Ideally through RBC magnesium, not just serum magnesium, which can miss intracellular deficiencies. What's empowering is that these depletions are modifiable. Once you identify what's pulling your magnesium down, you can make small, smart adjustments without having to overhaul your entire lifestyle. Because rebuilding muscle after 60 doesn't just depend on what you add, it also depends on what you stop losing. Now that we've uncovered the vital role magnesium plays from activating ATP to regulating inflammation and recovery, the question becomes, how do we replenish it effectively? Because here's the challenge. Magnesium is notoriously difficult to measure and easy to lose through stress, sweat, medications, and even aging itself. But the good news? It's also very possible to restore if you know the right strategies. Let's build a practical toolkit, grounded in science and easy to implement. 1. Go food first, but be strategic. While many foods contain magnesium, not all of them offer it in amounts your muscles can actually use. Here are some of the top magnesium-rich muscle-supporting foods. Pumpkin seeds, 160 to 160 milligrams per ounce. Cooked spinach, 157 milligrams per cup. Avocados, approximately 60 milligrams per fruit. Dark chocolate, 70 to 85%, 64 milligrams per square. Quinoa and buckwheat, 90 to 100 milligrams per cup. To increase absorption, pair magnesium-rich foods with vitamin B6 and selenium, which enhance uptake. Soak or sprout legumes and seeds to reduce anti-nutrients like phytates that block absorption. 2. Use the right supplement. At the right time, supplementation can help, but quality matters. Some forms are poorly absorbed or cause GI distress. The best forms for muscle health and absorption are magnesium glycinate, calming, gentle on the stomach, great for sleep and recovery, magnesium malate, energizing, supports mitochondrial function and ATP production. Magnesium threonate crosses the blood-brain barrier, helpful for focus and neuromuscular function. Timing tip, take magnesium in the evening to support both neuromuscular recovery and sleep. Start low, around 100 to 200 mgs, and build up slowly if needed. 3. Incorporate topical magnesium. For those with GI sensitivity or low absorption, transdermal magnesium, like Epsom salt baths or sprays, can be powerful. Protocol. Soak in a warm Epsom salt bath for 20 minutes, 2 to 3x per week, or use magnesium oil spray on calves, thighs, or sore muscles after training. 4. Cycle stress and restore chronic stress is a magnesium thief. The more stressed your system, the faster magnesium gets burned. Daily restore habits, 10 minutes of deep nasal breathing, nature exposure or sunlight walks, journaling, or light stretching before bed. These practices shift you into a parasympathetic state where magnesium is absorbed and retained more effectively. Let me ask you something. What if your next big strength gain didn't come from a heavier weight, but from a mineral correction? Because here's the truth. Strength isn't just built in the gym. It's supported 24/7 by your physiology. And magnesium, quite literally, is the muscle whisperer, quietly activating the internal conditions needed for growth, resilience, and graceful aging. Take a step back and reflect on what we've uncovered, because the story of magnesium and muscle health goes far deeper than most people realize. We began by reframing the common belief that protein alone builds muscle. While protein is essential, the science is clear. Without magnesium, your body can't activate the processes that make muscle growth and repair possible. Especially after 60, we explored 6 key insights. Magnesium drives muscle protein synthesis, acting as a cofactor for the very enzymes that build muscle. It fuels ATP, the molecular energy that powers every contraction and movement you make. Low magnesium triggers inflammation, accelerating muscle breakdown silently and systemically. It's essential for sleep and recovery, supporting deep rest and nighttime growth hormone release. Common meds and diets deplete it, often without symptoms or warnings, and replenishing it through targeted food, supplements, and timing protocols can spark remarkable changes in strength, energy, and resilience. So what's the why behind this? Because after 60, your body is still capable of strength, of growth, of vitality, but it's more sensitive to micronutrient environments than ever before. This isn't just about adding years to your life, it's about adding power to those years, and magnesium helps do just that. So here's your challenge. Don't just think about your next workout or protein shake, think upstream. Ask, am I absorbing the nutrition I'm taking in? Am I supporting the internal environment that lets my muscles thrive? Am I building not just mass, but metabolic resilience? Start with this simple protocol. Add 1 magnesium-rich food to every meal for the next 3 days. Take a small dose of magnesium glycinate tonight, 90 minutes before bed. Track your energy, recovery, and mood, and see what shifts. Because this isn't about chasing hacks. It's about aligning with how your body actually works, and then supporting it fully. If this video gave you a new lens on muscle health and longevity, I invite you to like, comment, and subscribe, not for vanity, but because when you do, you help this message reach others who need it. We're building a community here of people who want to live smarter, stronger, and more intentionally, and you're part of that. Let's keep growing together. I'll see you in the next video, where science meets action, and you reclaim the future of your health.